welcome to yet another video by LGRF Voice. So today's topic is strategies of crime prevention. We previously looked into various theories that has helped us in understanding what are the causal factors of crime. Now we look into the next part, that is how crime can be prevented. For that, what are the various strategies? So what exactly is crime prevention? Crime prevention is any action designed to reduce the actual level of crime or the perceived fear of crime. Okay, so the broad objective here is basically to create justice and to respect and recognize the individuals in the society. Okay, so the two main broad objectives of crime prevention is one, create justice. Second is to respect and recognition for individuals in the society. The finer objectives of crime prevention are it's to deactivate or degrade the crime producing mechanisms. Here, crime producing mechanisms refers to the criminals as such, or the group of criminals who together commit a crime. Okay, and the next objective is to introduce or strengthen mechanisms that will counter those liable to generate crime. So basically, so they're trying to state that basically through crime prevention, you try to strengthen mechanisms such that crime won't be generated in the future. Now, we look into three main crime prevention strategies. First one is crime prevention through social development. Second, through environmental development and environmental design. And the third is situational crime prevention. So we'll look into each of these strategies in detail. So the first one is crime prevention through social development. As we all know, crime is a developmental issue. A person might commit crime or a person turns out to commit crime maybe because of his influence by due to certain conditions or certain experiences. Say for example, lack of proper parenting, or say for example poor prenatal care, poor schooling. All of these conditions can affect a child's physical as well as mental growth. So that particular learned behavior might be in a negative form, which would further in turn lead to crime. So in crime prevention through social development, uh, mainly it involves a long-term integrated action that deal with the root causes of crime. So through CPSD, the main aim is to reduce the risk factors that start people or particularly say children or youth. Uh, what are the factors, risk factors that lead these children or youth to crime? So through this social developmental crime prevention strategy, they try to identify those risk factors. Say, for example, it might be child abuse or neglect, drug or alcohol misuse, school failure, teenage pregnancy, unemployment, etc. So these are certain generalized causal factors or risk factors that might lead people to commit crime. So these factors are first identified. The CPST is programmed in three levels, that is primary, secondary and tertiary level. So at the primary level, crime prevention refers to universal population-based program such as public education and healthcare. Okay, so that's how crime prevention is looked into. For instance, if you look into healthcare, most of the youth or teenagers are into alcohol or drug abuse, right? So how can that be prevented? What healthcare facilities can be provided for that, or what rehabilitation programs can be provided for that? That is the primary level prevention. At the secondary level prevention, they try to target those that are at higher risk for criminal activity. So here, as I mentioned earlier, if there is any youth who's at the risk of leaving school, for them, for their parents, proper parenting programs will be provided so that the children won't commit crime in the future. Also, parenting programs would be provided for parents who are at high risk of committing crime. So it's usually the children who learn from their parents. So in order to avoid that particular thing, parenting program would be provided. This is at the secondary level. At the tertiary level, rehabilitation programs, which is either by supervision programs for the offenders or for those who repeat, or for the repeated offenders, how certain rehabilitation programs can be provided in order to reduce that reoffending. Okay, so these are the three main levels in how crime prevention through social development is programmed. The model, that is the crime prevention through social development model as such, it can be successful only with the cooperation of parents, educators, the volunteers who are participating for it, the officials of public administration, and the local communities that are involved in implementing such models. Absence of any one section would obviously result in unsuccessful implementation of the model, such as probably this whole program itself or this model itself could be a failure. So it basically works at making people healthy, responsible. It also tries to promote community values about non-violence and respect for other people and their property. And in a way, it tries to help young people to resist peer pressure and make good decisions in their life. So that is crime prevention through social development. The next is crime prevention through environmental design. Now, this is one important thing which most of the criminologists as well as lawmakers uh, are interested in, and they kind of try to prevent crime using environmental design. Okay, so in short, it is called as CPTED. It is a multidisciplinary approach in order to deter criminal behavior through environmental design. Now, there are various strategies that are relied upon the ability, what are the abilities to influence an offender's decision, or how can that decision be controlled. All of these aspects are looked into in crime prevention through environmental design. And also it is about how various places or things are built in an environment. Okay, say for example, if a person tries to target a particular house for robbery or for any other crime to take place in that particular place, that built environment as such plays an important role. Okay, whether that particular house can be targeted, maybe the walls might be high or the walls might be very low. Okay, so based upon that, based upon a built environment, one can identify whether criminal activity or a crime or a criminal would target that particular place. Now, the application of this model is only possible with building approving authority, town planning department, and citizens. So it's actually a combination of these three important factors in the society who can actually help prevent crime through environmental design. Now, the properly designed, effective used, and well-maintained built environment can lead to a reduction in the incidence of fear of crime, as well as there would be an improvement in the quality of life. Now, as I mentioned earlier, CPTED is based on the premise that crime is opportunistic and contextual in nature. Okay, so if there is unintentional nuisance and criminal behavior, it can be facilitated by due to poorly planned design of space, or because there are a lot of increased opportunities for crime, or there are less levels of fear. Okay, fear to commit crime. So through the effective use of CPTD principles, crime, nuisance behavior, and fear of crime can be reduced. Now, the application of CPTD principles to new development also would further prevent crimes in the future. It also enhances a problem solving capability for the existing development. Now, what are the various principles of CPTD? So the first principle is natural access control. So basically through this design, they try to say that it directs and influences the flow of people to naturally maximize control and surveillance. Basically, you can lead people, or the flow of people into a particular area can be maximized through natural control and surveillance. So the primary thrust of an access control strategy is to deny access to a crime target and to create a perception of risk to offenders. So say for example, if you can look into the picture, there are security people, there are CCTV cameras, there are, it's a well lit place. So obviously the chance of a person committing crime would be less compared to if it was a place wherein there is no CCTV camera, there is no security people, there are very dim lights, or it's a not properly lit place, then chances of committing crime would be high. So here they are basically trying to denial of access to target shall be achieved through creating designs future, basically that includes highly visible gate, okay, placement of entrances and exit to be used by authorized persons only. Say for example, when we either go to a IT company or something, or when we go to banks or our office jobs itself, our ID card is very important because we are authorized person to use that particular room or that particular building. So by providing such things, the reduction of crime can be very well maintained. Next is fencing to discourage unwanted access into private space or into a dark or unmonitored area. And also landscaping in order to control traffic flow and usage of door and windows, locks, etc. So these are some of the ways in which natural access control, that is the already there's a built place, in that how can we control, uh, how can we prevent crime from happening. So basically provide highly visible gate, make entrance and exit only by authorized persons, um, ensure that fencing is in such a way that no unwanted access can be happen in that particular place, or there is no unmonitored areas in that particular place. And also the proper usage of door and window locks would be a very good way in preventing crime. So some of the examples for natural access control is being provided in this particular slide. I will just go through few of the things. Say using signs to direct visitors to building entrances and parking. Install certain checkpoints like say either a security guard at the entrance of the building or a receptionist as such. Okay, block of dead end spaces with fences or gates prevent easy access to roof. Okay, so doing these certain of these examples, using them, if you try to reconstruct your particular environment in such a way, uh, crime prevention can be actually done there. The second principle is natural surveillance. Okay, so here in this particular design, the concept is directed primarily at keeping intruders under observation. Okay, so it tries to utilize design features to increase the visibility of a property or a building. The proper placement and design of a window, the proper design of lighting a particular area, the landscaping, all of these increase the ability of those who care to observe intruders as well as regular users. Say, for example, obviously our neighbors, if you inform them, or if there is some other stranger that is coming into our area, there are people who notice them. There are people who come and ask, okay, we've not seen you in this place, who exactly are you? It is not always moral policing. It is also in a way uh, wherein through surveillance they're actually trying to prevent crime. Okay, so by surveillance, the opportunity to challenge inappropriate behavior or reporting it to the police or the property owner helps in reduction of crime. So when natural surveillance is used to its greatest advantage, it maximizes the potential to deter crime by making the offender behavior more easily noticeable to the individual police patrol or private security. So most of the times, even when it's when police come and talk to people regarding, community policing, they tend to focus upon this particular point, natural surveillance. Okay, so some of the examples of natural surveillance. So some of the examples of natural surveillance are as follows. Say fully illuminate all doorways that open to the outside. The front door to the building should be at least partially visible from the street. Construct elevators and stairwells to be open and well lighted and not enclosed behind solid walls. Make parking areas more visible from windows and doors. Okay, so these are some of the examples of natural surveillance. So first was natural control. Second principle is natural surveillance. And the next principle is territoriality. Okay, if we look into the window, there are clear signs that is written towards the side. Large windows promote casual supervision of the sidewalk. Porches and sideways and encourage interaction between neighbors. Paving and architectural treatments uh, define public and private zones. Good pedestrian scale lighting on street. Okay, these are certain examples of territoriality. Okay, so basically in this particular principle, the design of physical environment to extend a perceived sense of influence or territory. Okay, here people taking ownership of their surroundings, especially public space, make it more difficult for offenders to carry out crime or disorder. The same use of natural control and natural surveillance can also further help in uh, creating proper territories, and also we can prevent crime in such ways. Now, the sense of territory and ownership by an individual is reinforced through regular scheduled activities, inspection, and maintenance. Okay. See, if there is a house wherein the garden is not well maintained, there are a lot of trees, it looks messy. Obviously, the chance of a person targeting that particular house for to commit any robbery or crime is high. Whereas if it is a well-maintained garden, if the fencing is proper, if there is proper interaction with the neighbor, and as some of the examples I've mentioned in this particular picture, if all of this is there, obviously the chance of a person targeting that home is way less than if it's a house that is not well made. Okay, so some of the examples again, as I've mentioned, it is clearly stated here: separate employee parking from visitor parking and shipping and receiving areas. Okay, all of these minute changes in our environmental design can actually help in crime prevention. The next is maintenance. This is something that I had already mentioned in territoriality also. So, removing, avoiding overgrowth of hedges, fixing inoperative lights, installing good and proper quality locks, removing litter, not letting, like if you can look into the picture, if you've seen the first picture, it is well maintained. The trees are well maintained. So there is a proper view from the street to the house as well as from the house to the street. Whereas if you look into the second picture, the trees are actually a bit more not maintained properly. So obviously the view from the house towards the street is limited rather than the first picture. Okay, more than the first picture. The second picture, the access towards the street or the visibility towards street is limited. So the chances of that particular house being targeted is high. Okay, so by maintaining our house as well as the of office environment, outside environment actually helps in prevention of crime. So say it is actually based upon the broken window theory. Okay, wherein if a window is broken and remains unfixed for a time, for a length of time, the vandals or the people who are robbers or criminals as such can break more windows as in it's an easy accessibility into the house. I've already I have already mentioned most of the examples. So, um, so those are the main principles related to CPTED. Now, the concept as such has an understanding and applying basic crime deterrence concepts, supplemented by strategically applying security hardware, can actually create an inherently crime-resistant physical environment at a minimal cost. So, the use of physical environment as protection against attack dates it actually dates back to say prehistoric times. Okay, so the main goal of crime prevention through environmental design is to reduce criminal opportunity. How is this actually achieved? With physical design features that discourage crime while encouraging legitimate use of protected area. So this exactly is the concept of CPTED. It also makes it possible to design secured places that offer protection for the users. Now, the uniqueness and success of this particular concept, it stems from a manner in which these techniques are integrated and applied to the overall facility design. Okay, although crime prevention by design itself is relatively new, the individual elements and are actually common, as in the security techniques that are used are actually commonly used, and it has been there from a very long period of time. Okay, so that comes to the end of crime prevention through environmental design. Moving on to the next topic, that is situational crime prevention. Okay, so this is the last strategy in crime prevention. Now, a good number of criminological theories has explained crime, criminal behavior, and the influence of socio-economic and psychological factors that are contributing to breaking of law. So, in order to reduce crime in a given situation, a theory was developed by most of the researchers, and thus the name situational crime prevention. Now, SCP as such looks at particular circumstances in which people interact with one another, and with the built environment, they try to identify the particular risky combinations and look for solutions specific to those vulnerable situations. So here, basically, they look into how people interact with one another, how the environmental is built, how the environment is built, and they try to identify the various risky combinations. And also they help in looking for, they also look for specific solutions that can help in, coming out of that vulnerable situation. So the solutions may include by increasing the effort required to commit a crime. Okay, so basically here you try to make it less attractive, or make the accessibility to that particular property limited. Okay, the second solution is increase the risk of being caught. So set trap doesn't always mean that you will have to catch the criminal physically, or that police should always be present. Trap could actually even mean use of CCTV, proper lighting, wherein there are people to, look or have a surveillance on that particular environment. So thus the that increases the risk of being caught. The next is reducing the potential rewards of crime, as in how uh, whatever rewards they get from that particular crime, it should be less worth. Okay, so obviously if it's less of worth, then the chances of that particular thing or that particular object being taken away as a potential reward would be less. Next is reducing provocation and temptations. Basically they try to portray more secure settings, and such in such a way that there is no temptation for a criminal or an offender to particularly target a particular house or an environment as such. Okay, next is removing excuses for committing crime. Okay, you make it in such a unfair, the laws or the punishment that is provided, make it in such a way that obviously no one would uh, provide an excuse for committing crime. Okay, so some of these solutions, they actually involve two things. One is people oriented, and second is place oriented strategy. So a combination of these two, uh, with crime prevention through social development and crime prevention through environmental design, is what consists of situational crime prevention. So again, I'm repeating it. Situational crime prevention is actually a combination of the solutions of people-oriented and place-oriented strategies, along with crime prevention through social development and crime prevention through environmental design. Okay, and say for example, moving on to an example, um, situational crime prevention might address problems associated with, say, intoxicated people leaving bar at a closing time, or are these such drunkards are likely to involve in crimes such as fight or drunken driving. Okay, so what is the situational solution that can be provided? One is education of bar staff or family members and consumers about responsible drinking. Okay, second would be regulations in addressing the number, the size and locations of bar and their closing time. Third would be police presence at closing time. And the next is availability of public transport, or try to find an alternative mode. Say, for example, use Uber or Tuxi or say Ola. All of these other alternative methods can be used for traveling. Okay, so these are these are the illustration. This is one of the best example that can actually help us in understanding situation. So crime as such, it impacts the overall quality of life because it in a way influences our actions, where we live, how we travel, or who are the people we are associated with, and so on. Okay. So the major conceptual models of crime prevention, if someone asks you how can crime be prevented, the three main important models would be situational, social, and developmental crime prevention strategies. Okay. So since crime is something that is of more complex in nature, and there is and that not one single strategy can be used to deter crime. The concept of crime prevention strategies as such has been increasing. Okay, the acceptance of these models have been increasing. So the emergence of hybrid approach toward crime actually addresses both situational as well as social factors, and such combinations has actually helped in reducing crime, and also in trying to understand the concept of complexity and the concept of crime in the 21st century. So with this I end my video. So these are some of the crime prevention strategies. For any other doubts, you can please email me. Thank you so much.